Hi, my name is Jeff Scott from Oracle Solutions. Today I want to explain to you what a asbestos risk assessment is in the form of a material risk assessment. Now, if you've just had a survey undertaken or you've had one done in the past, you will note within the survey that there is something in there called a material risk assessment. Now, what this is a legally required asbestos risk assessment so that you understand what the risk is from the material that has been discovered if it is asbestos. Now, to do that, there is a formula that is used, and there is basically 4 elements to the formula, each one of those scoring between 0 to 3 or 1 to 3, depending on which item it is. So the first thing that we look at when we do the material risk assessment is we look at the product type. So if the product type is a very low risk item, something that won't release asbestos fibre very easily, something like cement or plastics or vinyl tiles, then it's scored with a 1. If it's something which is a little bit more friable, something like asbestos insulating board or gaskets, for instance, it scores a 2. And if it's a higher risk item, something like lagging or sprayed insulation, it's scored with a 3. So the first item is scored 1 to 3. So then you would get that first initial number. The second thing that we look at is the damage to the material. If there's no damage whatsoever, then it scores a 0. If there is a very low damage, it scores a 1. If it's medium damage, it scores a 2. And if there is high damage, it scores a 3. Now, obviously, you're starting to get the picture that the higher the number, the higher the risk of the material. So the third element that we look at is the surface type or the treatment of the material itself. So again, if it is something like a plastic material or a resin, then it is a very good surface, sound surface. It's not going to release fibre very easily. So again, it would be a 0. If it is something that is very, very capable of releasing fibre, something like lagging or sprayed, then it would score a 3. So there's your first 3 items. You've got your product type, you've got your damage, and you've got your surface treatment. The last one is the asbestos type. Now, if it's white asbestos or chrysotile, it would score a 1. If it is an amphibole asbestos element that's not chrysidolite, so i.e. amosite, brown asbestos, or one of the other types of asbestos, it would score a 2. And if it is blue asbestos or chrysidolite, it would score a 3. So the material assessment can give you a score, depending on your material, of anywhere from 2 to 12. 2 being the very, very lowest of the risk, and 12 being the highest risk. So what it means is, when the surveyor has undertaken your survey, he will do the material risk assessment and he will give you an indication of the risk associated with the material that he has discovered. Now, it's worthy of note at this point, this is just the material risk assessment. This is one of 2 risk assessments that must be undertaken in accordance with legislation for asbestos. You have the material risk assessment, and then you have what's called a priority risk assessment. And if you look at our other articles, there is an explanation of priority risk assessments. Both are legally required. The material risk assessment, again, just gives you that initial risk associated with the material that has been found. So I'll go through those again. It is the product type, it is the damage, it is the surface treatment, and it's the asbestos type. Each one of those is scored between 0 or 1 and 3, and it can add up to a maximum of 12, which would be the highest risk. So the lower that number, the lower the risk of that material. If you take a look at our other article on priority risk assessments, you'll understand that when you put the priority risk assessment and the material risk assessment together, you get the full risk assessment associated with the asbestos that has been found on your survey. I hope that's helped. Thank you.